Now that we've heard from Sarah and Jessica about the current state analysis of industrial agriculture and the effects it has had on the biogeochemical cycle, let's talk about the direct and indirect drivers of industrial agriculture. Throughout this course, we as a group have found 4 major direct drivers of industrial agriculture, as well as 16 indirect drivers. The 4 direct drivers are the development of the Industrial Revolution and increased demand of food nationwide, the development of a profitable food market, and finally a large number of companies without regard for their negative ecological effects. Each of these direct drivers is supported by 4 indirect drivers, all of which facilitate the direct drivers to continue on. The first direct driver of industrial agriculture is the amount of progress made during the Industrial Revolution, as well as factory development during World War II. Large and efficient machines were created to outperform human laborers at tasks such as pulling grains. This kind of production efficiency was unprecedented, and in the beginning, this was undeniably seen as a benefit to all, unless, of course, you were a farm worker. So began the exploitation of farmlands. With less people needed for work, costs decreased, and with high efficiency in planting, watering, and harvesting, profits increased. Crops were better maintained and provided larger harvests, allowing people to move from country settings into big cities and still have access to food. Next, we see an increased demand for food. The more food required by our country's citizens, the more legitimacy industrial agriculture gained. With a growing population and many people living in large cities, the more we began to depend on industrial agriculture. The United States population currently stands at just over 324 million people. That's 324 million people that require food for survival. And as we saw before, the Industrial Revolution paved a way for farmers to feed the majority of these people. If we consider the fact that the majority of these million consumers are probably ignorant to the negative effects of industrial agriculture, as well as accustomed to receiving foods and goods that do not naturally grow in their region, we can begin to speculate how easy it is to deter people from wanting or demanding a change in our farming systems. Living in a consumer society with such a large demand for food, we can begin to understand why it is farmers would want to be involved in such a profitable food market. With consumer prices being so far below the cost of buying local and organic, more people are inclined to buy food produced on large industrial farms. More buyers means more money for the farmers, which they can then use to create large marketing platforms to sell more and more of their less nutritious products to the masses. A lack of nutrition education works in favor of the industrial farmer. The less people are made aware of what chemicals are being used on their foods, the less they are inclined to spend their money buying organic. And finally, like we see here with the workers spraying pesticides on a Monsanto farm, large companies are not concerned with being eco-friendly. They are working to make a profit. The less we as a consumer are educated on the techniques and chemicals used on industrialized farms, less prepared we are to make informed decisions about what foods are most beneficial to consume. The idea of buying local and organic produce has only come into popularity in more recent years, and large, ecologically disastrous companies know this. This is why, instead of changing policies and methods, they have resorted to greenwashing and relied on relaxed government policies to allow their pollution to continue.